Without data, you are blind and deaf, more like a deer on a freeway. This was an observation made by Jeffrey Moore, management consultant, who was highlighting the importance of data as literally being your eyes and ears.
But data by itself can be pretty useless until we apply it. Like somebody said, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. So we are surrounded by data, but we are starved for insights. But today's guest is somebody who has converted data into actionable insights. And that too in a field where large investments are involved and big money is at stake. He advises everyone from developers to occupiers to HNIs to corporates on how to invest in real estate. And his data at Anarock forms the bedrock of Indian real estate. Yes, we are talking about Mr. Anuj Puri, Chairman and founder of Anarock Property Services, one of the leading and most credible property consultancy services. So it's such a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Anuj Puri, on the podcast, Unplugged with Namrata. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I'm absolutely looking forward to this podcast, and I've seen your earlier podcasts, and I must say is complimenting you and the team that they are brilliantly put together. So thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited, energized and charged to have this conversation with you.
Well, thank you. And here we go. As somebody who lays the foundation of investments in real estate by analyzing data, what are the 3 data points that anybody, just about anybody, should keep in mind before he puts his money into property, according to you?
So my thought is data is one aspect. Namrata, I think what is also required to understand is that what is the integrity of this data, how authentic this data is. Apart from data, what information can you derive out of that data? Because data will provide you just pure raw data. What is the inference that you can drive? What is the knowledge that you can make out of that data? That's the second point that you really want to, make sure that you appreciate and you understand it. And third is who is delivering this data?
Okay.
What is the trust? What is the source? What is the way that this data is captured? Again, as you said very truly at the start, that water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. That is how the data is. There enough and more data. But you just make sure that you vouch for its authenticity. You make sure that there is some knowledge, relevance, information that is taken out from the data. And third is, what is the source? What is the integrity? What is the trust that you have behind who is providing you with this data?
Well, your point is well taken. Since you have set up one of the most successful advisory firms in the field of real estate, what is that crying need that most people would like you to address, and which is the pain point that you have been repeatedly addressing through your advisory services?
I think there are 3 or 4 pain points in my view over the last 30 years that I've discovered that real estate has. One is just the transparency of dealing on the real estate. Whatever said and done in India, we have made a fair amount of progress in the last 1 decade. Yet the transparency is really not up there. We have come several notches up, but I do feel is that it has become from non-transparent to transluent and moving into transparency, but we are not yet up there as far as the transparency is concerned. So I would say first is transparency of the dealing. Second, the most important is relationship. And that is what I find most of the people that I've served over the last 30 years, that I continue to serve in Anarock, is about the relationship. So number 1 being transparency, number 2 being a relationship, and number 3 being able to navigate through difficult situations. And difficult situation not only at the time of when you are doing a transaction or when the event is happening. Invariably there are challenges that emerge after the event.
How much is too much when it comes to real estate investment? Well, gone are those days when the first home would be your last home. In one's entire lifetime, you tend to create couple of real estate assets. Now, what is the bare minimum? So, for instance, somebody said that at the minimum 1 home and 1 commercial real estate investment. And how much is too much?
I think it's a very valid point. Is that I recall my parents, for example. They got married in early 50s.
Yeah.
And they have been living in the same place, for the last 75 odd years. And invariably in that locality, I haven't seen many people sort of
Moving.
on, and
Yeah.
they're there. So you're right when you said, as your opening statement, that most of the Indians continue to stay in one home,
Yeah.
one house throughout. But when you go to more Western economies,
Yes.
they'll start with a studio apartment at the time when they're unmarried. When they get married, maybe one bedroom.
A starter home.
Yeah, that's right. When they get kids, they move up to
Aspirational home.
second
Yeah.
bedroom.
Yeah.
And then as the family grows up, they will go up to the
Full lifestyle home.
that's right. You're defining it beautifully. So 4 bedroom. And then as the kids start to leave the home, they start to come back into 3 bedroom, 2 bedroom, then one of the partner disappears. And then ultimately go to senior house. That is how the evolution is in more West economies. I do feel is that as this younger India is becoming a consumer of the Indian real estate,
Correct.
we're going to start to see that. From studio apartment to 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom to 3 bedroom to 4 bedroom, as you get at the top of your family, and then as the family starts to sort of go and do things on their own independently, you start to move down. So gone are the days you would have living in a house for 30, 40, 50 years. I think you will see more and more Indians upgrading and then bringing down as the families become smaller and smaller over a period of time. To specifically answer your question, how much is enough? Is it one home, 2 home, one commercial, 1 home? I do feel is that in today's world, 1 home, definitely post-COVID, we have seen that phenomena. We've also seen that the average age of the home buyer has come down considerably.
Yes.
Because younger guys are now buying homes. Previously, they would rent it. Post-COVID, the scenario is that I want to own my home.
Correct.
So, clearly 1 home is
One home is the bare minimum.
bare minimum. Second is many people are buying second homes.
Okay.
And so, that has become an in thing, a home in Goa, a home in Kasauli, a home in Nainital, a home in Lonavala or Alibag, somewhere like that they do want to buy. That is the second home. On the commercial side, I would say it's very large investment
Yes.
that is required.
Yeah.
And my recommendation will be is don't buy small office space. Don't buy in grade B buildings. It is tough to manage. It's tough to lease it. It's tough to vacate it. Or is it leased out because invariably the quality of the tenant you get in for a B grade building or for a small office is subpar, the quality of the tenant.
Okay.
To vacate that at the time of the expiry of the lease then becomes a hell of a challenge. So I would say is that if you do want to buy a commercial, then it has to be maybe like a ultra high net worth.
Okay.
That you need to have is to be able to buy proper office, maybe
Into grade A space only.
3 days space. So you probably need 10 crore plus as spare capital to be able to invest.
High capital, high ticket size.
High ticket size to be able to buy grade A and maybe a little bit decent size space.
Correct.
So I would say in a summary, you will see more people evolving and changing homes through their life cycle. First part. Second part is that I do feel is that at least 1 home they will own and 1 second home, 1 primary, 1 second home. Offices, I would still say it will be discretionary.
Okay, and let's talk about the key real estate trends. 2024 was headlined by premiumization of real estate, the coming of fractional ownership. Now, which are those trends which tend to excite you and you think really hold the potential into the future?
I think 4 or 5 trends and asset classes that excite me, Namrata. One is this data centers.
Oh yeah.
Super excited. I do feel is this is a new segment. This is a new asset class that one should really look at.
Okay.
One should be mindful. One should be investing into it. Again, it requires a large amount of capital.
Yeah.
Many of the private equity are doing it, but it's an asset class that is here to stay and very much up there.
But not for the retail,
Not use retail.
investor.
For the retail investor, I will say will be warehousing. Very nice industrial warehousing. It's an asset class with the quick commerce, with the e-commerce, with Make in India. On the manufacturing side, the warehousing industrial has become a guzzler at this moment in time of consuming real estate. So that is the pedigree, I would say, is that if you have the time, inclination, and the money, then really up there is the data centers, followed that by warehouse. Both of them means active involvement in the real estate.
Okay.
If you're saying is, I want to be an investor, I want to be passive at it because I have a day job, and I'm not going to be able to devote time, then I would say is do it in the REIT,
Okay.
do it in SM REIT,
Yeah.
or alternatively in fractional ownership, or as a fund contributor into a fund which is investing into real estate, because the fund manager will look after their real estate.
Okay, can you clarify that point? You mentioned active participation of the investor versus a passive investor. What kind of involvement is required from a person if he's investing into the data center versus, let's say, a second home or a REIT or something which is more like a extracurricular activity and not the mainstay of investment? So what is
I think it's a very important question that you ask, is that what kind of involvement, what quantum of time
Yes.
that is required.
Yeah.
If you are participating actively in an asset class, then that means is you are to find a tenant. Assuming you are buying a built-up space. If you are buying a space which is just raw land and you are built up, then it requires a whole load of different characteristics and expertise and experience. For the point of our discussion, I am assuming that it is a data center or a warehousing that is already built,
Okay.
that you are buying it.
Yes.
And maybe it's even tenanted. Once the tenant leaves, you'll find the next tenant.
Okay. So that is the cost rent.
That is involvement. Second is, to be able to manage it, to maintain. There will be wear and tear.
Okay.
So you will have to maintain it. The moment the tenant vacates it, you have to go, you have to get it painted, you have to get upgraded, you have to repair it. So there is that active involvement. There is property taxes to be paid up.
And it's infrastructure heavy.
And it is infrastructure. It's real. You own it.
Which is why the biggest players, the very big names, are all behind data centers, and we don't find any small medium scale at all in that space.
The thing is, look at warehousing. If you are owning the warehousing space, then you need
Active involvement.
versus the REIT. You're trusting the manager of the REIT. You're trusting the SM, the small medium REIT manager, and then you're just investing. Also, the ability to liquidate in that is far quicker. REIT, SM REIT, because it's listed on the stock market.
Yes.
On the warehousing, it is not a liquid asset.
Yes.
If you invest today and you need money tomorrow, it is at least 6 months before you will get the money.
Yes.
In a REIT, at the press of the button, like a stock market, you'll get your money. There's very little transaction cost in the REIT. In this one, there is a friction cost, there is a stamp duty, there is a brokerage. So these are two different
Yeah, and high involvement versus the passive REIT kind of investment. Okay, what are the trends that tend to worry you? The drying up of the affordable housing segment, the you can say decrease in supply of the mid-end or middle bracket housing. Budget 2025. We all thought that it would buck the trend. Has it actually bucked the trend? And are you worried about certain trends which are emanating from the way market forces are operating as of now?
What concerns me is absolutely correct what you said is affordable housing.
Right.
I do feel is that there is enough and more demand.
Yes, absolutely.
But there is no problem about the demand. My worry is the supply.
Supply.
There is not enough supply coming in from the private developers. There's enough supply coming in from the government side.
Yes.
That they're doing a great job.
Now.
Yes, that's right, PMAY. But from the private developer side, there isn't much that is coming in. It used to be enough and more pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Because during COVID and post-COVID, Namrata, the premium, the luxury, the ultra luxury has started to do well.
Yes.
So the private developers have moved towards that. More margins there,
Yes.
making more profit there. The land cost has gone up, as a result of which it lends itself only to premium and ultra luxury or luxury housing is. So my worry is that whilst the demand continues to remain strong on the affordable housing, and the government's doing a great job in being able to deliver on the affordable housing, that the government cannot alone deliver it. It has to be really the private enterprise that will have to sort of contribute on the affordable housing.
So is that an appeal that you're making to the private developers? Because even the poster boys of affordable housing have jumped across to the electricity bandwagon. Are the incentives now not enough? Is the initiative and drive not enough from the private developers? What will buck the trend?
So, Namrata, my thought is that we can request the private developers to do more affordable housing, but ultimately they're private.
Yeah.
So, they have to look at it. What is the best margin that is going to be produced from a specific sort of plot of land there? So, I do feel is that the government intervention in policies, more fiscal, more financial incentives for affordable housing, maybe land parcels being earmarked
Correct.
for affordable housing, and where you can only do affordable housing. I think there has to be some thinking that will need to be done on propping up and propping the affordable housing. And one other thing that I am excited and I do feel is that should really be looked at is rental housing.
Yeah.
Namrata. Now we're saying is housing for all. It doesn't mean housing for all for them to buy. It could be housing for
To take on rent, take it on days.
can institutional players and the large private equity, the Blackstone, Brookfield, GICs, and the Canadian pension funds and the Middle Eastern, pension funds get into this business
Well, that's an exceptional point, I have to say.
and do rental housing
Yeah.
globally. They are massive in rental housing. It's a big portion of what they invested in India because the yields are so low
Correct.
compared to offices, compared to investing in malls, where they get 8% yield. In residential, you're getting 2.5-3% yield. As a result of which, there is no excitement.
Excitement.
But I do hope is that with, again, some government intervention in
Yeah.
that is that you are going to be able to incentivize and build up the yield to such an extent that you are able to get in institutional investors into this play, and it will be a big proportion for housing for all to be contributed through rental housing.
Well, I hope this actually happens, and this is actually one of the key suggestions which will help bridge the gap between the affordable housing demand and supply. One thing about price division. Division of rates is pretty random. Is it just a handful of people in developers' office who decide that, look, let's escalate the price, and if there are takers, then let's look at it as the new normal, so to say, and it never eventually goes back to the old levels. So is there a science behind it, or is it completely a free play of market forces? And can the home buyer or the investor even challenge this random price division? Because what happens, Mr. Puri, that suddenly if I go and book a property on Friday, there's a pressure put on me. Is it a pressure tactic which says that, look, Monday we are escalating the price by 15 to 20%, or is it for real?
So let me say there are two parts to this. One is science, one is marketing. So I'll explain the science first and then I'll come on to the marketing part.
Perfect.
If you were to look at it, Namrata, from 2020, when COVID hit us, to say 2024, at the start of 2025, 2024, over a 4-year period, we have had a price rise of 56%.
Oh,
That is a lot now.
Yeah.
That you may say is nearly 12% per annum.
Yeah.
Salaries have gone up by 7, 8, 9%. So it has, gone up far greater.
greater.
But let the full story be told. And the full story is starting from 2013 to 2019. Over that 6-year period, price rise was only 12%.
Oh.
Cumulatively.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at it, it was only 2% per annum.
Right.
Whilst from 2020 to 2024, there has been a sharp price rise of 12-13%. But prior to that, it was only 2%. So that 2% is really catching up. And that is how, if you look at it in the overall scheme of things,
Yes.
2024, it is, say 68% increase in the price. That is about 6.8% per annum. That is where inflation is
Yes.
at this moment in time. So that is what the science is. That it looks in abstract from 2020 to 24 that it is very stark increase. But when you reveal the full story from 2014 to 2024 over a 10-year period, it is about 6.8%, which is quite palatable. Yet your second point is a very interesting point, is that, I go on a Friday and then I'm threatened that if I don't book it now, and on Monday if I come back, the price rise is going to happen. That is marketing. That is marketing, to be able to put pressure on the consumer, on the customer, to be able to buy at that time.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that it is unrealistic pressure. At some stage, they do increase the price.
Yes.
Whether it'll happen on a Monday or whether it'll happen on a Tuesday or whether it'll happen on a Wednesday, I think that is the only discretion.
Yeah.
But they will increase. What happens, Namrata, is that most of the developers would have a threshold of inventory that gets sold before they increase the price. So it's like driving a car.
Okay.
So, when you're driving from 0 to 20, you're on the first gear. Then the moment you reach 20, you change it to second gear. The moment you reach, say, 40, you get into third gear, and like this, you change the gears. Similarly on this as well, most of the developers will say is X amount of inventory, say the first 20%, I will sell it at this value. The moment they breach that 20%, the price rise happens because the gear changes.
I see.
The moment they achieve the sale of that, price rise happens.
Okay.
So that is the third gear. That is the fourth gear. That is how the price rise is happening, is because at the start of the product, at the start of the development, they would take an average price of the entire development starting from a low value, and every benchmark where they sell, say, 50 apartments, they will increase the price by 10%. 100 apartments, they'll increase by another 5% or 10%.
Okay.
200 apartments, they'll increase by another 10%.
That's why they take it to the fifth gear.
So the later you come in,
Yeah.
the lesser risk
It is.
because the development has started to come up, but also means higher price you have to pay.
So, Mahagum. Now, Mahagum is the flavor of the season and the biggest talking point globally. Is India's spiritual destination a real estate opportunity? Can the developers do something with the authorities to make this a better experience for spiritual tourists or tourists and travelers from within India and outside of India? Is there a real estate opportunity for Indian real estate developers in Kashi, in Ayodhya, in Prayagraj, and so many of them?
So, Namrata, first of all, I must compliment what the government has been able to do it. I was there last weekend.
Okay.
I experienced, the surge. We were about 100 of us as a group. We had gone, and it was just amazing. It was mesmerizing. 10 crore people came in. 10 crore people coming in on a city. It was like you are in a spiritual trance. I mean, we moved from Akhara to Akhara to Akhara. Beautiful infrastructure that was laid out, absolutely peaceful, huge amount of care by the administration. We faced nothing in there. We had about sort of equal number of men and women in that group of 100, and really very well organized. We had a very nice day. You would be as much time as you wanted to take in there. Great facilities to stay in there. Huge amount of food and beverage. Every few yards, there were facilities.
And it can only happen.
Right. I am telling you, I was just amazed. I think nowhere in the world can this happen. Is what has happened. 30 crore people. I mean, at one of the akharas, there was a spiritual leader, and he said this statement, which was quite daunting. That they said is that Prayagraj is today world's third largest populous country.
Oh God! Okay.
India, China, and then Prayagraj is the third. Because it says sort of 130, 40 crore people, followed by China, followed by Prayagraj at 40 crore people. Then comes America at 30 crore people in there. So you can imagine that what it was is.
Yeah.
Now, is this an opportunity for the real estate? Absolutely, 110%.
And in which forms or where all and what formats they can possibly chip in?
My thought is, Namrata, to begin with, the hospitality.
Yes.
Hotels.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, and you rightly said it, whether it's Varanasi, whether it's Prayagraj, whether it's Ayodhya, several others in South India as well that you would be able to do it. Is hospitality is the biggest one, followed by retail, leisure, entertainment, F&B, then followed by your housing. Residential. Beyond that, after what I heard on Saturday, the GCC is coming in.
Yes.
There's a Global Capability Center.
Correct.
An Honorable Finance Minister on Saturday announced it, that there is a policy framework with the states that is going to be put up, where there is going to be attractiveness for GCCs to go into tier 2, tier 3 cities. And these are the cities that are going to be able to attract the GCCs as well as. So I do feel is that this is a big opportunity for India. This is a big ecotourism. The government genuinely, I must say, did a fantastic job. Had I not been there first time, I won't have been able to relate to it. Is having stayed there for 2 nights. I do believe is that it was fantastically organized. Can they do it to bring in more organized real estate development like hotels, leisure, tourism, retail, entertainment, GCCs, residential? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I am very, very positive that you will see as we go through the next decade more organized real estate development in these places.
Okay. I think from whatever feedback that even I'm getting from people, they're all commending Yogi Ji's initiative and say that it's pretty seamless. And I think, of course, there's always room for improvement. And like somebody said, it's the biggest room in the house. So we can, as real estate industry, do all that and more to make the experience even better for our, tourists from within and without the country, like inside India and outside. So, moving over to our rapid fire segment, which is all about instincts. These are a set of quick fire questions where whatever comes to your mind, just go ahead with that. So, are we ready to go with the segment?
Yeah.
So, one myth about Indian real estate that needs to be busted, according to you.
Prices only go up. I can tell you, I've been in the industry for 3 decades.
Yeah.
They do correct.
If not India, then which international market fascinates you the most?
Interesting. I would say is Dubai.
Okay.
And remember, 4 or 5 years ago, I would say I wasn't the biggest fan. It used to be like fragile. It used to be volatile. But this time I've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, they've really done a fantastic job, solidified it. It's become a sort of a global economy. There is, and for the real estate, it is a dream, as you rightly said, is the approvals are quick, the buildings are nicer, the ability to allocate land parcels, the ability to be able to navigate it. It's become also a global place where you get in, people coming in from the east and the west.
What's a bigger challenge according to you? Policy uncertainty or high interest rates?
I would say clearly policy uncertainty.
Uncertainty.
Interest rates, navigation, remember the people know how to do it. The certainty of the policy and its implementation, very clearly, cleanly, in a focused manner is what is required. On the interest rates, navigating the interest rate cycle, I think we all can do it fine.
Okay. One piece of advice that you would like to give to the first-time home buyers.
Don't jump into the first house that you see.
Really? Do your research.
Do your research. Exactly. Do your homework, do your research, and then select.
So our public policies are more about treating the symptoms rather than curing the disease. Agree or disagree?
In the past, it used to be.
Okay.
I think is now and going forward, I'm hoping that is more cure than just treating.
Treating the symptom. Okay, fantastic. One thing about budget 2025-2026, which is very heartening for you, which you are very happy to know about.
I'm very, very happy on the funding that was given to Swami.
Swami.
The next set of funding, 15,000 crores, to the Swami fund is, Namrata, there's still 500,000 homes that have yet to be completed.
Yes.
So there is still the need for the government initiative to continue the way that they did it with Swami. To my mind, it's probably the best, if not one of the best, that I've seen in my lifetime. The way that implementation of Swami. So I'm very excited with the 15,000 crore new funding that has been put into Swami. I do feel is that between sort of 60,000 to 100,000 homes will be completed through this extra funding that they've got in this year's budget.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
And one thing about budget which you are not very happy about, and you would have wanted, the government to be more forthcoming on that. What was it about real estate?
Discussed that a little earlier, Namrata, in your show. I do feel is on the affordable housing.
Yeah.
There could have been more
incentives.
There could have been more incentives given to the developers. Because my point is very simple: is that ultimately these are private developers. If they want to make more margin in a different product, they'll move towards that.
Correct.
How do you incentivize them to be able to do more affordable housing? And the second is expand the definition of affordable housing.
Okay.
45 lakh rupees today, which is a definition that was put in 7-8 years ago,
Very outdated.
that is outdated.
Yeah.
Needs to be really redefined.
To maybe 85 lakhs at least.
Yeah, exactly. 75 lakhs to a crore, somewhere between that.
Just taking inflation into account, I think that that correction has to be done. I think it's long overdue.
People want bigger. They want better.
Absolutely.
They don't want one bedroom. They want 1.5 bedroom. They want balconies. They want larger bedrooms. By virtue of that the value of the house has only gone up. So you're right, is that somewhere between that 75, 85 to 1 crore is what I feel that the affordable housing definition will need to be enlarged, moving it up from 45 lakhs.
Okay. So, I'm going to nudge and provoke you with certain statements that I make, and you're welcome to, dismiss them or agree with them and, give the reasons perhaps for your take. Affordable housing has no supply because there is no demand. What is your take on that?
There is a ton of demand. There is a ton of demand, Namrata.
Yeah.
I think it is a concern with the supply.
With the supply. Mid-end or mid-market housing is not a point of interest any longer for the real estate developer who is only now focused on the luxury housing. What is your take on that?
It depends how you define mid level is.
So, if it's Delhi, it would be 1.5 crore. Below 2 CR, maybe something like 90 lakhs to 2 CR could be that mid-end housing.
I would say.
I mean, who am I to define? But I think as I understand the real estate market in my limited capacity, I think for a Delhi NCR market, that would probably be anything upwards of 2.5 crore would probably be the premium, and then of course the luxury.
And I would agree with that definition. What you have said is, I would say there is enough and more demand on that. Is Namrata, at 90 lakhs to 2.5 crores, there is enough interest from the developers. If you were to go into cities like Pune,
Yeah.
Calcutta, Chennai, Hyderabad, there is a fair amount of demand. There is a fair amount of supply coming in that price category.
Okay.
I think where we get colored is with Delhi or Gurgaon, even Noida for that matter. There's
Yeah.
enough and more supply and demand between that sort of 90 lakhs to 2.5 crore.
Yeah.
But Bangalore, MMR, and sort of Gurgaon, Delhi area, that is where developers tend to move this pricing more towards, I would say, 2 crores to 4. The affordability of land pricing, where it currently stands, plus where the government charges are today, it lends itself for the developers to do the product between 2 to 4 crores. Otherwise, the affordability of the land at the price is not there.
In your opinion, what is the best way to define the real estate developer? Astute businessman or nation builder?
It's seriously nation builder.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most of them?
Most of them. Look at the job that they have done. It is, today, if you look at the quality offices that they build up, that helps in economic development. We spoke about data center, we spoke about warehousing, whether it's co-working to enable the startups to be able to get into that space, or just pure residential. So I would classify them as nation builders.
Okay. What would be your advice to real estate developers?
Have a customer first approach.
Okay.
Those developers who've had a customer first approach have gone through generations successful and have maintained and gained their presence. They gained their market share, gained the prominence, gained the market share, and today sell at a premium.
Is there one segment of real estate that you are betting big on, really big on? What would it be?
We did earlier touch on that a little bit. Is to my mind, it'll be warehousing, industrial, logistics, and data centers.
And data centers.
Says. Having said that, 85% of Indian real estate is residential. So let's not forget that residential is the biggest dada in the room. 85% is residential. So the rest of them are sort of new emerging, like data center, warehousing, and industrial, but residential still continues to remain as the biggest asset class within the Indian real estate.
the time to exit a real estate investment is way more important than the time of entry. Agree or disagree? Purely from investment point of view.
Purely from an investment point of view, I would say it's really both. Namrata, there are time of entry and exit. Both are important, is because it is like a stock market.
Yeah.
You know, if you actually enter at the top of the cycle, then tough to time the exit.
It's all about timing, when you enter and when you exit.
Yeah, I would say is, Namrata, although in the stock market may be true to that extent, is in the real estate, it is both timing. And the reason I'm saying is time of entry and exit is because it has to be the fundamental quality of the asset.
Correct.
That you are investing in. Is if the asset is of a good quality and a good asset class within the Indian real estate, then really to me it doesn't matter as much. Ultimately, you will make money if the quality of the asset and its typology is decent.
Student housing is more about managing amenities, facilities, and hospitality than pure real estate. Agree or disagree?
Partially.
Okay.
And why I say partially agree is, Namrata, it is true is that it is a part of the services that you are doing, which is more hospitality. Yet, if you were to use the word co-living instead of student housing, I would have said is fully true.
Okay. More about hospitality than real estate.
More about hospitality than real estate is on the co-living side.
Yes.
On the student housing, the student's ability to pay for hospitality is still much lower because the dad and mom is paying.
Senior living isolates the elders rather than integrates them with the community. Agree or disagree?
So I agree. In the past, it used to be like that.
Yeah.
Today, I think senior living as a concept has changed on two aspects. Number one, many of the senior living developers are actually making senior living as a integrated, within the same community, having a tower for the senior living. So it is more inclusive.
Very nice.
Second is many of these senior living today are saying is that people want to come and live with people of the same age, same class, same genre, so that they have company in there. So it is becoming again inclusive from that perspective. These are not terminally ill people.
Yeah.
That that they are living in senior homes. These are people in their sort of 60s, 70s who still have huge amount of prime life ahead of them, but they want company. They want like-minded people. They want people of similar age group where they are able to enjoy and yet have the healthcare facility close by. So I do believe is in the past, you're right, it used to be very exclusive, excluding. Today, it has become a lot more
Inclusive.
Within the same communities, you are having buildings, and within that, the senior living folks are enjoying the company of each other.
Okay. At the very end, the last question, your biggest learning from decades in real estate?
My biggest learning, Namrata, is that businesses in this sector are built on relationships.
Okay. It's all about people. It's not about bricks and mortar.
It is not.
Cement and glass and concrete.
Absolutely right. Because it is a very versatile subject, and it is also an industry that it's getting into the maturity phase, not yet mature. It's also, as we started at the start of our conversation, said it's moving from transfluent to being transparent. So relationships matter.
So you have, cemented relationships in real estate. As your tagline says, values over value. I think that says it all. What a pleasure to have you, Mr. Anuj Puri, on the podcast show Unplugged with Namrata. As always, truly engaging, enriching, and even entertaining. I enjoyed the analogies that you gave and the examples and made it very easy, breezy, light, the very heavy subject of real estate.
Thank you very much, Namrata. I had a great time as well with you, and wish you and your viewers all the very best.